like to, prior to asking Senator Silly to speak to us also, I'd like to remind everyone exactly what our role is in all of this. We are essentially an oversight group. Our job is to see to it that the agency does not go beyond the authority given to it by the legislature. That's it. Now, sometimes the authority given by the legislature is very, very, very broad and very, very all-encompassing and very almost, no strings attached. Just go ahead. We have been, over the last several years, addressing them in our policy committees and trying to remove some of those things. I want everyone to understand that once the preliminary objection is filed, the agency has 45 days in which to respond. Once they have responded, it will be put on the calendar, and that's likely to be 2 weeks following that. I think you've heard that it is very likely that some bills will be introduced to address some of the issues here. I fear that last week my voice may have gotten a little testy at one point where when the statement was, yes, essentially the termination as envisioned in these rules is without any involvement of the legislature. I almost lost it when I heard that, and I'm glad that that issue is going to be revisited. And as for the role of the commissioner, I had a very good friend who was president when I was in grammar school who said that the buck stopped at his desk. Didn't mean that he was involved in every call, in every decision. We understand that the commissioner may have the ultimate authority, and that may not be necessarily true for tax purposes. I don't know. I've heard that, I've heard the contrary, etc. But I hope that this process, even though it's been long and trying, will not end in failure, but that we can come back probably in a month and a half, 2 months, and have what everyone will be able to agree would be a better product. Okay? And having given you the essentials of how this works, Senator Silica, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to beg your indulgence as well as the members of the committee. I know the hour is late, and I would like to not belabor this any longer, but I think that there are things that belong on the record. I've been called a strict constructionist, and I want to amplify something that the chair mentioned a moment ago. We had a very specific task in front of us, and I considered that task to be what I've considered it to be for 4 years, to attempt to the fullest extent of my ability to understand the applicable statutes that apply here and whether the rules were consistent in whole or in part or inconsistent with those statutes. Fact of the matter is, whether this thing is taxed or not is immaterial to me insofar as I have a job on this committee. Whether the state takes the money ultimately or not is immaterial to me insofar as I have a specific job on this committee. This committee, above all others in the legislature, should be above policy issues, politics, or anything other than strict objectivity, in my mind. I have to comment on the record about the fact that this has become perhaps the most polluted process of anything that I have been involved in the JLCAR process. There have been politics that have come to the fore in more ways than I can count, but I want some of them on the record. When members of the bar come to me through a lobbyist and say they'd like to talk about statute and rules, and that conversation devolves into a discussion of maybe we can broker a deal, maybe we can help you with your budget problems, And I know there are a couple of Senate districts in play. I don't know what that means. I didn't stay to find out, because at that point, I was so offended, I found that so repugnant to my sensibilities that I left. But what I do know is that very shortly thereafter, there were ads running in a local paper that were, again, the only word for them is repugnant. And in the course of an election season, to have those ads running when we were trying to do a job here is offensive to the very core. When there are people that hold press conferences when we have a job to do, before anybody knows what the outcome of that job is offensive to me. When there are pledges taken to protect private property, which the Supreme Court, by the way, did not deem this to be. They said there was a beneficial interest, but there was no contention that this was private property. And to be asked to be taken a pledge to protect private property, which I consider to be part and parcel of my very job in this legislature, was offensive to me. And when some group, connected presumably to the litigants' attorneys, call my home day after day and send me emails, and they haven't got a clue as to what they're talking about, except they've been told to call me and stop the theft. And I take the time to say, dear madam, have you read the statute? No. Have you read the rules? No. Are you a member of the healthcare profession? No. Then why are you calling me? And what can I explain to you? I don't know. I've simply been told to call you. That's offensive to me. So I hope that there are people that are satisfied with the outcome. But I want to say very clearly to the litigants, if they participated knowingly in what their firm that represented them did, or what others potentially connected with that firm did, they should be ashamed of themselves. There is a process here, and there should be some purity to that process. And I hold that dear. And if there's anybody in the legislature that I know, and I'm sure that my colleagues around this table would say the same thing, but I want to cite Senator Barnes particularly, because that man has the utmost of my respect for holding one thing most dear in all of this legislature, and that is the integrity of this institution and the integrity of the process. And it has been violated, and for that, I feel ashamed for the people who did it. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If there are no comments, we are open to a vote.
No, we haven't voted.
We haven't voted yet. Please. Those in favor of the motion for a preliminary objection on the motion of the given, will please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, that will be done. Now you may say whatever you wish. Thank you. Representative Patton moves adjournment. Is there a second? Second by Representative Merrill. All in favor? Opposed? Folks, we'll see you on the 7th.